Okay, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the Color Management for Photographers Part 2. Meron na ba tayong mga... Oh, okay. Sandali ah. Sabi ni Sir Jimmy Wu, good afternoon. Good afternoon din. Dino is also here. Mayong hapon, Sir Albert. May hapon sa Dino. Musta man, pila naman ng ato ang na-loss na weight. So, may hapon. For those of you who just tuned in, like I've said, last time, minsan nagkakaproblema yung connection and all, tapos napuputol, ganun. So, what you can do is just come back to my website, dun sa GRP, Digital Imaging Institute. Go there and I'm gonna be doing this until 3 p.m. So you can always actually just go there and click on the link again pag naputol. Sana hindi maputol. Right? Just checking on you guys. Let me know kung narinig niyo yung audio ko properly. So yeah, just let me know. Sabi ni Joseph, good evening daw sa kanila. Takihan natin konti. Yan. Sabi ni Joseph, good evening daw. Good evening na ba? Ilang oras ba dapat? Di ba 3 hours lang? New Zealand. Carl Tristan is also here. Good afternoon. So yeah, so those who weren't here last time, this is the part 2 already. I've discussed the part 1 of the color management for photographers already. This is the second part, which I'll be discussing a little bit more of the details. So if you have questions, do let me know in the comment section. I'll answer it as much as I can, although it's really limited what we can do. I can't do a lot of demo and all, but hopefully this works. All right. Can somebody let me know if my audio is good? Oh, sabi ni Joseph, 6 p.m. na daw sa kanila nga naman. So, good p.m. na nga. Di ba? So, what else? So, let me know. So, Joseph is watching from New Zealand. The others, saan kayo, where are you watching from? Let me know. How's my audio, by the way? May naririnig ba kayo? So yeah, part 2 na to. Last time I'm gonna be doing a recap, just a really quick and fast recap of what we did last time. And today, I'm gonna be discussing a little bit more on the details already on the monitor calibration, your workflow when you're using Color Passport, and what else? Setting up your Photoshop and all. So it's really more on the nitty-gritty details of color management. And mind you that the discussion that I'll be covering for today is more of for photographers, not for printers. Maybe it can apply a little bit on the printer side, but it's really more on the photographers. Okay? Oh, Carl says na audio is good. Cool, man. Thanks. So, let's do if you don't have any other questions, sabi ko nga, I'm gonna be doing this until 3 p.m. So, we'll be covering everything about color management, all topics about color management until 3 p.m. So do let me know if you have questions within the context of color management and for photographers, if you can. No? Well, if we have time, then let's discuss other stuff. So last time, let me just arrange this a little bit. Okay, so last time in our discussion, I said about photographer, client, and print provider. No, tatlo yan. Ikaw, photographer, you took the shot. The client commissioned you to do it, and then you gave it to the client. Client says, "Oh, fine," or even during the shoot, client says, "Oh, fine. This is the image that we're looking for. The color looks good. This is perfect." So the client gives it to its department. Marketing department processes the file and then forwards it to the print provider. Okay? So after the print provider natanggap niya, hindi talaga nila alam. They don't really know what the color was produced during the shoot. And the marketing department is looking at an image, has no reference kung whether is this the same color during the shoot. And then now the print provider gets the file, and the print provider assumes, because wala rin siyang reference eh. So the print provider prints it, and then everybody happy. But no, not yet. Client calls you, because when the image was delivered or the print was delivered, the client realized na, oh wait, this is not the color that we were expecting. It's totally different, no? So that's where the problem is. And then the first person the owner or the client calls is often the photographer. I've experienced that. So this is just a recap. This is just very quick. So another problem with color management is you have a workstation, you have a laptop. Most photographer has a laptop, and then they have this bigger bigger monitor, like a second monitor, para you can do more with a bigger screen, right? Our laptop, the real estate is really small. So the next problem is the color on your second screen is different from your laptop. So question is, sino ang totoo sa kanilang dalawa? Which monitor is telling you the right information? So these are the problems of color management. So number one, between you, your client, and the printer, they all have different colors. Your laptop and your second monitor has a different color. And then another is, you're doing color editing for a client. Your client is probably located in Australia or probably in London or wherever in Europe. And then the client sends you a file and you start editing it, doing pro retouching to it, and then you send the file back to your client. The client says, wait, we have a problem with your work. It looks a little bit saturated and it looks a little bit dark. And then you would say, in my monitor, it's not that saturated and the brightness is okay in my monitor. The question is, sino ang tama? Si monitor ni client dun sa London or sa Australia, or yung monitor mo? So that's another problem with color management. So also, yung misnomer na people think na because they're using Mac and they're using ISO or Asus na ProArt, they don't need to calibrate their monitor. No, every monitor needs to be calibrated, no matter how expensive they are. And let me, maybe after this, when you're trying to buy a monitor, what you need to consider, we discussed about 10-bit ng mga monitor. Let me just scroll this because this is just a parang ano na to, recap from. I remember, because I saw Kit in the comment, I remember Kit asking me about video card, and I said it really doesn't matter that much. Well, I stand to be corrected because I'm used to attaching 10-bit monitor to my MacBook Pro, and it's often really supported immediately yung 10-bit, especially if you're using a MacBook Pro. So if you're not using a MacBook Pro and you are not sure whether your video card can handle your 10-bit monitor, then you have to check the specification. A 10-bit monitor needs a 10-bit video card, so I stand corrected on that. When you work with a 10-bit monitor, you need a 10-bit video card. So if you're using a MacBook Pro, automatically gives you a 10-bit output already. And it recognizes it. So I mentioned about IPS panel. I mentioned about real resolution last time, contrast ratio and response time. And I think we ended up here in monitor calibration. This is where we ended up in the part 1. And now in the part 2, we'll be continuing from here on. Right? So, kung meron kayong mga question na, tanong na. Kasi tuloy-tuloy na to. Ang hirap palingon-lingon dito sa kabila, sa mga comment. So, if you have questions, let me know. So, as I move on, by the way, let me know where you're watching from. Are you watching from Manila, Cebu, Mindanao? Are you watching from outside of the Philippines? No? So, please let me know. So, this is where we ended up calibrating your monitor. So, let me just come back. How many times do we need to calibrate our monitor? For photographers and graphic designers, maybe graphic designers would be a must once a month. Photographers, we can live with every other month. But if really you're very critical, your work is really critical in terms of color, calibrate once a month. Okay, but definitely graphic designers once a month. Okay. So what's next? So when you calibrate your monitor, there's actually two. It's not steps, but two parts of it. Okay. The first part is linearization, because sometimes even if you have a monitor calibrator and you have a good monitor, but you weren't able to perform it properly, so magkakaproblema din yun. So there's actually two parts when calibrating a monitor. The first part is the linearization. The second part is profiling. Teka, sabi ni Pampanga daw to si Richie Pampanga. So, two parts, linearization and profiling. Okay. So, first is linearization. Let's talk about linearization. Ayan si Richie. Oh, teka, Paranaque pala. Kala ko Pampanga. Paranaque pala. Richie, hi. So, there's two parts, linearization. Okay, so let's talk about linearization. First is contrast ratio. When I was working in the mid-90s, when we calibrate our Mac before, the response curve was usually, usually was 1.8, okay? And Windows was using 2.2. Kasi paiba talaga lagi si Mac So si Apple. So, but later on, it was the response curve that was more appropriate is now 2.2. I don't know when that shifted. I think maybe late 90s it shifted. Because even Mac now and all the other monitor calibration applications, they're actually using Mac. Okay, so they're actually using 2.2 rather. So yeah, so the contrast ratio should be 2.2 unless if there are any other purpose. Okay. What's next? Luminance. Luminance needs to be 120. These are normally standards when you calibrate your monitor. These are the first recommendation that the monitor profiler offers. Hold on, just really quick. Alexa, turn on AC. I'm back. Sorry, I have to set the aircon. I forgot to turn it on. Kaya pala umiinit. So, so in my presentation, let me just adjust this to this one. Overlays. Okay, this goes down over here. Okay. So hold on guys, let me just fix a little bit of my OBS. Okay, let me just fix a bit of my OBS. File distance is good. Narinig mo pala yung Alexa ko. So wait, I need to set up my presentation that where you guys can actually see me. Can I be seen now? Hindi ako nakikita. Forgot how these things work. There, it works now. So, sorry for the Alexa part. I really forgot to turn on my AC. Kaya pala pinagpapawisan na ako. So, there's two parts, linearization. Linearization talks about setting up your contrast, which is 2.2, and setting up your luminance, which is 120. You would know if your monitor, medyo luma na siya at kailangan na siyang palitan. When your monitor cannot reach 120 CDM, no? CDM is actually a unit of measure for measuring light. It's candela, based on candela. So, pag di na niya kayanin abutin yung 120, meaning kailangan na siyang palitan, no? And often, mga monitor na umabot na ng mga more than 5 years, yun, medyo nahihirapan na sila abutin yung 120 CDM. And you don't also want your monitor to be more than 120 CDM kasi it's too bright and you think that your image looks good. Pero actually, sa monitor mo lang pala yun maliwanag. When it's being viewed in other calibrated monitors, probably to your, from your client in London or Australia, or your client from other city, pag tingin mo sa monitor nila, dark. Pero pag tingin mo sa monitor mo, so bright. So make sure na yung 120 CDM is really set. Nasi-set yun sa yung menu ng monitor mo. There's a setting there inside. Nasi-set mo yung brightness, nasi-set mo yung contrast. And don't worry because the application is going to help you decide what's the best. Let's say the more you move the contrast, the application will tell you na, oh, sumobra na yung contrast, baba mo konti. May ganon. So, meron siyang mga assist na gagawin sa'yo. It will help you on all those three sa contrast. It will also help you sa what's the best brightness. Ipapa-adjust na yung up and down, depende. Tapos, the software will tell you, oh, that's good already. And then, it also help you to manage your red, green, and blue. This is the white point na side naman. So, papa-access niya sa'yo. Kung pupunta ka dun sa color balance, no, or white point dun sa monitor mo, go to the user-defined or custom, and then adjust red, green, and blue independently. And the software of your monitor calibrator will tell you kung itaas ba yung red, ibaba ba yung red, ang green ba, taas or baba, ang blue ba, taas or baba. So, lahat yun i-guide sa'yo yun. Once na-set mo na yun, then your linearization is done. Okay? So once you're done with linearization, the next thing that's gonna happen is profiling. Okay? So this time, natapos mo na yung linearization part, iiwanan mo na ngayon si monitor calibrator a hardware like this, but this is the more expensive one. There's a smaller one, i1 display, which is only about 25,000, I think. Ito kasi for both printer and ano to eh. For both printer, monitor, marami kasi itong nagagawa, eh medyo expensive. So, what else? So, pag natapos na yung linearization na yon, you're gonna be doing mounting this in your monitor, no? Nakaganon na yan siya, no? So, actually, nakaganon na siya nung ginagawa mo pa lang yung mga contrast tsaka yung mga brightness. Nakaganon na siya. So, and then, this time, the second part is profiling. Iiwanan mo na siya ngayon. The software will throw some colors to your monitor, and then the hardware is going to read the colors that are being thrown by the monitor, no, rendered by the monitor. Babasahin niya ngayon kung, oh, tama ba yung red, tama ba yung blue na lumabas, tama ba yung green, tama ba yung orange, all those different things. And normally, when you do that, there are choices. You have to choose between small, medium, or large patches. What does it mean? Large means mas marami siyang patches na ito throw sa monitor. Small would be maybe about 60 or 80 patches ang isa-send niya. Pero pag large, I think abot na yata ng 800. I'm really not sure with the numbers, but it would take about 45 minutes to finish kung large. And I really calibrate using large. Okay? Kung large, definitely mas accurate. Kung nagmamadali ka lang talaga, then go with the small, but I wouldn't recommend it. Go with the large number of patches. Okay? So, once natapos na lahat yun, after 4 to 5 minutes, nakapagkape ka na, nakapagpanood ka na ng isang episode sa Netflix, natapos na siya lahat, then, you need to save the ICC profile that will be created after reading all of those different mga color patches. Now, yung ICC profile will be saved in your video card. Okay? Ang tawag doon LUT, lookup table. Kasi yung ICC na yun, mapapansin mo, when you turn on your computer, maybe a desktop or a laptop, when you turn it on, wala pa yung LUT doon, di pa naloload yun. So once your operating system kicks in, no, na-open na, nag-launch na siya ng mga different drivers sa desktop mo, automatic, kick in din yun yung LUT doon sa video card mo. Gagamitin na ngayon ni system yan. Lahat ng colors na lalabas na sa monitor mo has to go through that LUT. The LUT was created by the ICC profile you made when you were doing a profile of your monitor. So, lahat na filtered, dumadaan na lagi doon. Kaya lagi lahat ng kulay lumalabas sa monitor mo would be correct because it goes through that filtering process, no, yung LUT doon sa video card. So, kailan ba siya magkikick in? During boot lang. Pagka pinatay mo yung computer mo, tapos in-on mo ulit, mawawala na yung LUT na yun eh. So, ilo-load ulit ni system. You don't have to really do anything about it. The operating system is going to do that for you every time you load the monitor. Every time you turn on the computer, the operating system is gonna do it for you. No? So, yun, saved in video card yun. Alright? So, do's and don'ts. Natapos mo na, nakalibrate mo na, saya mo na, di ba? Nakalibrate mo na yung 10-bit monitor mo, sana ako din. So, nakalibrate mo na yung 10-bit na monitor mo. Tapos, everything is working well. So, what are the things you shouldn't do? Number 1, do the entire process regularly. Meaning, hindi ito pang isang taon. This is just a temporary setting. You need to recalibrate again, and you have to do this regularly. Like I've said, photographer, once a month. Pwede rin once every other month. Si graphic designer, definitely once a month. So yun. Pero pag critical yung work mo naman as a photographer, you want to make sure that everything on always to be calibrated once a month. Okay? So another is, don't adjust your brightness and contrast, no? Marami dyan, dahil pag nanonood sila ng movie, gusto nila mas maliwanag at mas vibrant, they normally change the hardware setting of your monitor, change it, mali yun. If it's calibrated, you cannot touch the brightness anymore. You cannot touch the contrast anymore. You cannot touch the white balance anymore. Kasi pag ginalaw mo yun, recalibrate ka na naman ulit. Okay? Pero, if you're on a laptop, sometimes nasa coffee shop ka, masyado talaga maliwanag, no? Hindi mo makita. You can increase your contrast, brightness, but just make sure that after you do that, tandaan mo kung saan yung last setting nun, ibalik mo yun doon. Kasi, the setting na yun yung right setting for the best possible brightness nung kinalibrate mo, di ba? So, you can adjust it, but always make sure. But point is, as much as possible, wag mo na lang i-adjust. Pero kung talaga wala kang makita dahil sobrang liwanag dun sa coffee shop, you can adjust your brightness, but make sure to put it back in the right position. No? So yun, white balance, wag mo rin galawin. Lahat ng ginawa mo during linearization, wag mong galawin. Kasi yung ICC profile is basing on that settings ng monitor mo. Yung white balance, yung contrast, tsaka brightness. So, may mga nakikita ako na gumagamit ng color checker, no? Color passport. Ako gumagamit din ako niyan. But sometimes, some people would use it to a lot of other na mga purpose. Sometimes, even when they're shooting portraits, gumagamit sila ng color passport. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying hindi ko makita yung purpose. Hindi ko makita yung reason why do you want to use color checker or color passport in your portraits. I'll explain a little bit more, no? But in my case, I only use color checker when I want to make sure that the colors from a client's perspective is important. Like, nag-shoot ka ng mga damit. You're shooting catalog to be used for Zalora, or this clothes will be used for or you're shooting product, and this product is going to be used for selling items in Lazada. So importante now, when it goes to Zalora, the colors of the outfits should come in as the right color when clients view it. So very critical ang color, di ba? When you sell a product and then the product's a particular color, the client will say, oh, gusto ko yan, yung kulay na yan, I order. Tapos pagdating dun sa kanila, iba yung kulay ng product. The same way with Zalora, pag order nila damit, oh wait, this doesn't match with my trousers or what, because the color doesn't match. I was looking at the computer, it looks okay, but now it's delivered, iba pala kulay. So, yun yung mga cases na kailangan mo ng color checker, di ba? Kasi very important ang color doon. Kasi may e-commerce nakadikit doon na e-commerce. O kung hindi naman, ipiprint siya sa brochure o ipiprint siya sa billboard. And then, dapat yung kulay nun, pagdating doon sa billboard, tama yung kulay ng damit o kaya tama yung produkto na binibenta doon sa billboard. Kasi, importante yun when people make a decision whether to buy it or not. Pero if it's not color sensitive, probably you're shooting food, okay? If you're shooting food, hindi dapat exact ang kulay niyan. Sometimes we even saturate a bit, okay? And sometimes we edit the food, we adjust the color. So there is no point of using a color checker when you're shooting food because photographer's preference yun. O portrait. Unless if the food talagang may particular color na hinahabol doon si sabihin ni chef or ni restaurant owner, kung ano yung nakita ko sa visual ko ngayon dyan, dapat yan ang lalabas doon sa kulay sa shot. Then use a color checker. Pero pag sinabi, make it a little bit more tastier or a little bit more saturated. So, you don't need a color checker to do that. When you're shooting portraits, you also don't need a color checker. Because preference na naman ulit ni photographer yun. Kung anong kulay gusto niya lalabas. Gusto ba niya a little bit reddish on the cheek? Gusto ba niya na a little bit yellowish konti? Or gusto ba niya may pagka-pinkish ba konti yung skin? Preference yun eh. So there's really no point for you to use a color checker on those cases. Like going back. Outfit to be used for Zalora or print, color checker, yes. Product photography, color checker, yes. Portrait, not so much. Fashion editorial, not so much. Street photography, not so much. Landscape, not so much. Because you decide what color to come out. No, you're not really trying to match it. But the good thing about color checker is that meron siyang gray card. That you can use if you want. Okay? Another case na nangyari saan gumamit ako ng color checker is nag-shoot ako ng painting. Now, the paintings are really, really expensive. And the client wants to be perfect and exact ang kulay. So, there, I need a color checker in that end. Kasi gusto niya yung lalabas dun sa image, dapat replica talaga in terms of color from the original painting. So, there, I need a color checker in that end. Okay? Let me know if you have questions as to color checker. Parang tahimik na yung chat, wala nang nagsasalita o wala na kayong may tanong or sobrang bilis ko ba magsalita? No, let me know. Masyado ba mabilis yung discussion? May naghihintay bang taxi sa labas? Wala pong taxi ngayon dahil quarantine tayo ngayon. So, yun. If I'm doing this too fast, let me know. If you have questions, feel free to ask in the chat room. Okay, so, yun, color checker. If you have more questions, just throw it in the comment section. Ito yung sinampulan ko na painting, no? Marami to eh. I took a lot of different paintings. May mga Luna pa nga na painting dun na kinakabahan akong i-shoot dahil sobrang million eh. So, what you do is you position your color checker, no? You position it where you position, kasi sinet up mo na yung lights mo, di ba? Na-set up mo na yung lights mo, na-set up mo na yung camera settings mo, the type of lens you're gonna use, the camera that you're gonna use, everything na-set up mo na. Pag na-set up mo na lahat yun, at tama na lahat, that's the only time saka mo lalagay si color checker. Hindi pwede mauna si color checker, isushoot mo, bago mo ilagay yung mga lights. Hindi. Dapat, when everything is correct, everything is practically what you wanted in the shot. No, the right aperture, the right lens, the right everything, no? Good to go na. Saka mo pa ilalagay ngayon si color checker. Now, si color checker is really dependent. Pag gumawa ng profile yan, which I'll be discussing later, sa type of lens na ginamit, sa type of camera. Kasi every camera, iba-ibang rendering niyan. Every lens, iba-iba ding rendering niyan. The type of lights na ginamit mo, iba-iba din rendering niyan. So, kaya nga dapat last siya ilagay bago ka mag-shoot nung actual. So, once na-position mo na siya like this, ang gagawin mo, after shooting and all, wag mo siya gawin to after the first shot, ha? You can do this post-production. So, sa post-production, pag bumili ka ng color checker, may kasama siyang software. I forgot magkano si color checker. Hindi ba parang 5,000 or 3,000 lang yata siya? So you launch the color checker na application. It comes with the color checker na the color that you put, no, yung sample, yung device mismo. Yung color checker na yung na software, ito yun. Ila-launch mo siya. Tapos what you need to do is, yung raw file, by the way, the color checker only works with raw file. Hindi siya pwede mag-work sa JPEG, ha. Sa raw file lang siya nag-work. So what you need to do is, kakailanganin niya mag-convert ka if you're from Sony, RW, if you're NEF, Nikon, if you're CR2, Canon, and the rest, you need to convert that to DNG first. It's easy to convert to DNG. You just go to Bridge, Camera Raw, you go to Lightroom or Capture One. You can always export that particular raw file to a DNG. Now, pag naging DNG, by the way, DNG means digital negative. Okay, si DNG ngayon will be opened by color checker. And then, pag na-open na ni color checker yun, automatic na niya hahanapin kung nasaan yung mga color patch na hinahanap niya. Hindi mo na kailangan sabihin sa kanya yan. So, hahanapin niya kaagad sa image saan yung color patch na pinicturean mo. And then, from there on, gagawa niya kaagad yan ng ICC profile. Now, yung ICC profile na yan will be, you need to specify dun sa ICC profile na yan na what camera, what lens ang ginamit mo dun para malaman mo na, okay, this is a combination of Mark II and a 50mm lens. Or this is a Mark III on a 24-105 lens. Or this is a Mark IV with a 24-70 na lens. So, like I've said, iba-ibang camera, iba-ibang lens has a different calibration. So name it. No? After that, in your camera raw or pupunta ka doon kay Lightroom, makikita mo doon, masiset mo na siya ngayon, hanapin mo na ngayon yung profile. It's just, makikita mo under color, nakalagay doon Adobe Color. Just click on that Adobe Color, may drop down yan doon. Tapos, I think I also took a photo of it na, yan. So, you browse for it, you look for it, and then makikita mo yan kasi automatically, isi-save the color checker yan sa camera profiles, and Lightroom and Camera Raw always looks at the camera profiles folder, and then makikita mo, hanapin mo yung profile mo ngayon doon, and then apply it. After you apply it, yung color checker mo, di ba, merong gray din yun. Then click on the white balance din para mag-balance lahat ng kulay. So, two things you need to do. Apply the ICC profile you created, and then apply also the white balance, which based on the gray patch there in your color checker. Once ma-apply mo na yung dalawang yun, magugulat ka sa result. Because the colors are totally different from the one you've taken. The right saturation will come in, the right balance of color will come in, which is really nice. But like I've said, when you're shooting portraits, I think the photographer has to say what type of colors he wants to come out. But if it's a critical color project, then you need a color checker. Okay? So sabi ni Dino, okay lang daw yung speed ko sa pagsasalita. So, pag medyo mabilis, let me know. So, now, pag natapos mo na, tapos nag-edit ka na and all, now you need to bring your photo. Sorry, may lumilipad-lipad pa dito. Now you need to bring your photo to Photoshop. Okay? Now, when you need to go to Photoshop, you need to know na may maraming options doon. May dalawa. Merong 16-bit and 8-bit. You need to decide whether you want to go 16 or 8. You need to know whether you want to go Adobe sRGB, or you want to go Adobe RGB, or you want to go ProPhoto RGB. Okay, so wait, let me just get water quickly. So 16-bit, 8-bit, you need to decide between the two. You also need to decide whether you want to use sRGB, ARGB, and ProPhoto RGB. So, pag-usapan natin sino-sino sa kanila. Tingnan ko lang kung next slide ko. I think binanggit ko yata yan. Okay. So pag ine-export mo na siya, papuntang Photoshop, of course, yung galing kang camera raw, merong setting doon na isi-set mo kung paano mo siya isi-send kay Photoshop, ARGB, S, or ProPhoto ba, or 16-bit, or 8-bit. So, let's talk about yung mga ARGB, sRGB, ano ba yan? So, sRGB muna. Let's start with sRGB. sRGB is the lowest working space that you can work with. It's not gonna kill your colors. It's still a very decent and a really good working space. Problem is, because your camera is so high-end, it has about 12-bit and some of them are 14-bit. There's a lot of colors that it carries. Now, pag linagay mo siya ngayon sa sRGB, some of the other colors na hindi niya kayang ipasok doon sa working space niya, itatapon niya yun. Okay? So sa sRGB, kasi maliit lang yung color space kaya niya gawin. Now, sino ba gumawa ng sRGB? Why do they need an sRGB? I mean, why do we need an sRGB? Because internet only uses sRGB. So you might wonder, bakit si Chrome hindi na lang niya ginawang ARGB para mas matingkad yung mga kulay? Hindi. Kasi 95% of the internet user doesn't use a 10-bit monitor. Okay? Most of them are 8-bit monitor and some of them are office computers and all. And your probably your cell phone you use to browse and the rest of the other devices are not so good in terms of display. Kaya ginawa ni Chrome, lowest common denominator, which is the sRGB. Okay? So, if you know that you're going to be using this for web, then assign sRGB. But if you ask me, I'd recommend not to go sRGB yet. You do the sRGB in the end after you edit. Okay? So, ARGB naman. Ano naman to sa ARGB? Si ARGB is a big color space. Yung sa camera mo ng mga shots, everything, pasok lahat yun sa ARGB. Almost. May mga konting tapon pa rin. Okay? May mga konting tapon pa rin sa ARGB. But si ARGB is so big already. Hindi nga kaya ni Epson or any other high-end na mga printers i-print at the level of ARGB. Hindi niya kayang gawin yun. Kasi sobrang laki si ARGB. So, is it recommended? Of course, ARGB is best recommended. Ang ganda ng kulay ng ARGB. Well, konti lang ang tapon. So here's the thing. You're using a 14-bit camera and you're shooting a really saturated na mga shots. Like you're doing a commercial na mga high-end, highly saturated colors. And ayaw mo na magkaroon ng tapon. Ayaw mong matapon konti yung mga files mo. Then, you can go ProPhoto. Si ProPhoto is the largest working space na pwede mong gamitin na lahat ng kulay na na-capture ng camera mo, no matter how saturated those colors are, no matter how high-end your camera is, pag na-capture niya yung mga kulay na yun, pasok yun sa ProPhoto RGB. So, kung gusto mo walang tapon, go with ProPhoto RGB. Okay? So, yun. That's the difference between sRGB, Adobe RGB, and ProPhoto RGB. So, ngayon, papunta ka na kay Photoshop, di ba? Yeah, 16-bit and 8-bit. Ano ba yung difference ng dalawang yan? Unang-una, yung camera mo, high-end, medium format, that's a 14-bit camera. If it's a straightforward DSLR, it's 12-bit. If it's a full frame, that's about 14-bit. Okay? So 14-bit siya. If you export it as 8-bit, medyo lugi ka dun. No? Oh, sabi ni Dino, how to know kung anong bit daw ng camera. Well, sabi ko nga, kung straightforward DSLR, entry level to mid is about 12-bit. Mid to, I'm not sure, I think full frame lang ang naka 14-bit eh. So it goes like 12, 14 would be the full frame. 16-bit would be yung mga medium format. Okay? So, straightforward is 12, 14 sila full frame, sila medium format, naka 16-bit na yan. So now you have all your bit depths of your camera. And then you export it to 8-bit in your Photoshop. So what will happen? Tapon na naman ulit ng detalye yon. Okay? Kasi 8-bit lang tinapon mo kay Photoshop, 8-bit lang. The rest of the other colors na meron doon, hindi niya makukuha yon. Kasi yung lalagyan mo, maliit lang 8-bit lang eh. Eh, laki-laki ng container mo, yung camera. Binuhos mo doon ngayon kay 8-bit. Siyempre, tapon yung iba doon. Diba? So, si 8-bit ngayon, will throw some of the information and then we'll carry on to Photoshop with less information. Now, question is, kailangan ba laging 16-bit when exporting it to Photoshop? Absolutely no. Kung wala ka namang plano, even if it's for printing, for like commercial printing, like brochure, billboard, and the rest, 8 is already good, no? Pero pag sinabi natin, you're gonna print it on fine print, yung mga fine printers ni Epson or ni Canon, with really expensive na mga papers, probably ang taas ng resolution ng printer, then go with 16. Export it as 16, process at 16. Okay? After the process mo ng 16, there are some RIP that can accept 16 and some RIP can accept 8. But you know that it's for high-grade fine arts quality print, then your workflow should be 16 papunta kay Photoshop. The only time you use 8, commercial purposes, social media, okay na yung 8, walang problema yun. Kasi bakit hindi mo kailangan mag-16 lagi? Nagdo-double kasi yung file. When you export it to Photoshop, the file doubles. When it doubles, it eats a lot of resources in your end. Processing, GPU, hard drive, no? Malaki yung kinakain na resources. Kaya, decide whether you want to go 8 or 16. Don't just decide always 16, always 8. Depends on what you really need. Okay? Oh, andito pala si Master Joey. Sana makabalik sa inyo at namnamin ang mga gin at iba-ibang cocktails. So, yeah. Good afternoon, Joey. So yeah, don't just automatically say 8 ako all the way, or 16 ako all the way. No, there's a purpose why you wanna go 8 and why you wanna go 16. Okay, kasi medyo mabigat din when I'm doing 16 with a lot of different layers. Retouching lang to hindi to graphic design. Umabot ako na about 2 gig or more. So imagine the stress ng computer mo processing that. So that's really a lot. That's why when I'm also doing retouching for clients, and like I have some clients in Australia and I also have some clients from London. Pag sinabi nila 16-bit na workflow, ano yun, double din ang price ko nun. Kasi it takes more time, more processing sa computer, tapos pag nagsisave ka, ang bigat, ang tagal. So, double ko yung price ko nun. So, okay. What else is here in my slides? Okay, I think this is the last slide. Ang galing ko, 254. Alas stress na ang sinabi ko, di ba? So, let's talk about 5 formats. We have JPEG, and we have TIFF, and we have PSD. So, dun sa mga hindi nakakaalam, ang JPEG po ay JPEG. Kaya lang naging JPEG yan kasi at one point si Windows kasi dati hindi niya kaya more than 3 characters ang extension. Kaya shortcut niya yan to JPG. Pero JPEG talaga yan. Joint Photographic Experts Group, no? JPEG. Now si JPEG was made for the purpose of communication. JPEG has a really good compression method na kinumpress niya yung file. Like a TIFF file would be around 60 MB. Pag kinumpress mo yan to JPEG, nasa mga 3 or 5 MB lang yan siya. Imagine ganun kaliit, diba? It's about 90% na compression. So you're what, 66 MB or 5 MB that's left, no? Pero ipagtatabi mo si TIFF at saka si JPEG visually, I'm talking just visually, you cannot see a lot of difference between the two. Sometimes you can't even see anything at all. Ganun kagaling si JPEG mag-convert. Ang problem is, when you start editing the JPEG, when you start moving those curves, when you start moving all of those different sliders in your Lightroom, wala masyadong laman si JPEG sa loob. Kasi tinapon na niya yun sa compression. Ang sinigurado niya lang is yung display. So when you start editing it, magkakawatak-watak na yung mga gradients noon, magkakawatak-watak na yung color saturations noon. So, JPEG is really not designed for editing. Okay? You can crop it, just a bit of the exposure, mas mga 1-2% ng mga adjustments. JPEG is good for that. Pero anything more than that, medyo hinihila-hila mo na konti si curve, tinataas-taas mo na konti si exposure, may mga critical ka na ng mga adjustments, JPEG is not really reliable for that because JPEG was designed for communication. What do I mean by communication? It's meant for emailing, it's meant for sending through attachment, it's meant for web, it's meant for, communicating an image. Like, I want to send to the client and say whether okay na ba siya sa image na to or hindi, or sabihin ni client, do you have sample images that I can check? Then send a JPEG. It's good for communication, di ba? But for print, not so much. But you know what? When I'm printing for large format, since hindi man ganun katataas na resolution ng mga large format, nag-JPEG lang kami, hindi mo kami nag-TIFF eh. So, a little bit of revelation. So, TIFF is tag image file format. Matagal na itong na-invento si TIFF, 70s pa to, when they were trying to produce na file format where they can put the scanner. Kasi 70s nagde-develop na sila ng scanner eh. It was only in the early 80s na medyo sumikat na si scanner. And meron ng mga computer na pwede mo na siyang i-attach. Dati kasi laboratory pa lang si scanner eh. So, they need a file format. It was TIFF. So, si TIFF nandun na nung panahon na wala pang internet. Panahon na hindi pa mayaman si Bill Gates. Andun na si TIFF. No? So, tagged image file format. It's the most, how would I say, stubborn file format. No very much compression. Pag ginamit mo yung LZW ba niya na compression, halos walang compression na nangyayari. It's so stubborn. But the thing is, because stubborn siya masyado na file format, it preserves all the color. It doesn't waste any color. Sobrang bigat nga lang niya. Si raw file would be somewhere around 25 MB. Pag kinonvert mo siya to TIFF, alam mo kung magkano magiging weight nun? Magiging 60 MB yun pag naging TIFF yun. Kasi si TIFF, ipoposition niya at ilalagay niya yung data properly. Iba yung file format niya. Kumbaga, kung you're into iTunes before, yung mga lossless na mga music, parang ganun si TIFF. Lossless siya. Pero sobrang bigat. No? Very reliable, but sobrang bigat. So si PSD naman, claims. Si PSD is hindi naman sobrang laki as TIFF. Maybe mas 10% or 20% smaller size siya. But still, malaki pa rin. Siguro mga around 50 MB pa rin siya. Pero, according to Adobe, PSD works like TIFF. Lossless din siya. No? But very versatile. No? It's the default file format used by Photoshop when you save it, PSD. So, yeah, that's now the differences between JPEG, TIFF, and PSD. Okay? So, that's the end of my slides. If you have questions, sabi ni Joseph, ano daw yung format ng FPJ? Wala namang ganun eh. So, yeah, so yun ang differences in mga file formats na yun. So, when you're doing high-end, creative na mga images, I submit the client TIFF. Okay? Kasi lossless, no? Kaya nga often, kailangan talaga ng external drive when you ask for an external drive from your client. Kaya upload mo sa Dropbox if you have subscription. Doon mo lagay. And then, walang ano yun. Walang kawala yun. All the data are there when you save it to TIFF. And, ang mabigat lang ang TIFF, pagka sinave mo siya tapos naka-layered, super bigat na talaga niya. I would suggest kung naka-layered ka in Photoshop and you want to save your work because you want to move on and continue tomorrow on another time, save it as PSD muna. Pag na-save mo na siya as PSD and then you want to save it as flattened version na high-end image, then save it as TIFF. Kung talagang fine arts yung intention ng print, TIFF, tapos 16-bit pa talaga. No? JPEG, by the way, doesn't carry more than 8-bit. So if you're shooting a medium format, ang laki ng bit depth ng camera mo. Tapos, after all of that, isushoot mo siya ng JPEG. So, parang tinapon mo yung 1/2 of the information of your camera kasi you were shooting JPEG. Tapos, everything is saved on an 8-bit JPEG file. I mean, what a waste of technology and hardware. So, if you have a full frame or medium format, no, you probably won't use that for events, right? And if you're shooting events, you can shoot it JPEG. But the reason you're shooting full frame and medium format is because you wanted that bit depth. So it would be a waste if you're shooting it with just only JPEG. Kasi sayang info, diba? Sayang information. Unless for, other reasons, like because events nga, ginamit mo yung full frame on events, okay lang yun siguro mag-JPEG. But for commercial, personal work, and high-end the mga quality work, you really need to shoot RAW because RAW will give you all the bit depths of your camera and save it as is. So yeah. Sabi ni Dino, is it recommended from CR2 convert to DNG? Ang sagot, sabi ni Adobe, wala daw difference. Okay? Kasi ang maganda naman sa DNG, hindi siya, yung backward compatibility niya is there. Meaning, taong 2025, wala saan ang COVID nung time na yun. Ang dami ng mga update ni Photoshop and all. Pag naka-DNG ka, mau-open yun. No? Mau-open yun. Or, kunwari, si Photoshop naging Photoshop 2025 na. Pero yung Photoshop mo 2020 pa lang, hindi ka nag-upgrade. Yung DNG mo, mau-open pa rin yun. Kasi nga, yung backward compatibility ni DNG, covered niya lahat yun. Kasi very general yung ano niya, setup niya. Pero kung yung raw file may CR2, NEF, hindi backward compatible yun. Kunwari, nag-open ka ng bagong CR2, CR3 na nga ngayon eh. Nag-open ka ng CR3 on your Photoshop CS6, hindi na makaka-open yun. Diba? Pero kung pina-open mo si CS6 and DNG, maski kang CR3 ba na Canon yan or whatever, compatible pa rin yun. Yun ang compatibility issue ni DNG is its strength. Yun yung strength ni DNG. According to Adobe, wala daw difference. According to mga camera manufacturers, may difference. Ang sagot, di ko alam kung wala ba talagang difference. I tried it many times. Wala naman ako nakita ng difference eh. But hindi natin alam internally baka meron, di ba? So, yeah, so depende yan sa'yo, Dino, kung they wanna go DNG or not. That's your call. But according to Adobe, wala daw difference. Sabi ni Joseph, changes if there's an improvement. Hindi ko makita ang dali. Taas natin konti. Sir, regarding PSD, does it change if there's an improvement in the future PS software version? Hindi. Kasi very backward compatible si PSD. Ma-open siya whatever version it is. Maski ginawa mo to 5 years ago na PSD, ma-open pa rin sa pinakabago na PSD. And yung pinakabago na PSD, ino-open mo sa pinakaluma na PSD, open pa rin yun. Pero you wanna make sure pag save as mo, i-check mo lang yung compatibility doon na parang checkbox na so that it will be compatible to other versions. Maski lumang version ng Photoshop, ma-open pa rin siya. Pero it adds a little bit of MB to the file. Pero kung gusto mo yung backward compatibility na full talaga, there's a checkbox there when you save as PSD na magiging backward compatible siya to all. So yeah, future PSD, wala. Kasi nga, very compatible sa PSD sa lahat ng different versions niya. Especially pag naka-on yung backward compatibility niya. So, meron pa bang mga tanong dyan? Ako, lampas na ako. 3:06 na. So, may mga question pa ba? May parating pa ba na nahihiya pang itanong at hindi ko pa makita dito sa comment section? So yeah, so kung if you have more questions, feel free to PM me in my Facebook account. You can please also follow me. Does this work? Let me try. Let's just try Helvetica. Edit. Oh, I need to type in here. Okay. Albert Pedrosa PH. So you can follow me sa Instagram. Lagay ko para medyo hindi tayo malito. Instagram. Okay. So yung handle ko sa Instagram is Albert Pedrosa PH. And yung website ko, bisitahin nyo naman para gumalaw siya. So, albertpedrosa.com. I don't really put a lot of my shots in Facebook, but most of my shots can be seen in Instagram and in my website. I normally update my website like once a month. So, and medyo random kasi dun sa Instagram eh. So, mas organized dun sa website ko. So, please visit it. No? So, parang medyo gumalaw naman. Yung mga nakikinig dyan, visit my Instagram account and please follow so I can follow you back. So, may tanong pa ba? Sabi ni Dino, thank you daw. Salamat din sa pakikinig, Dino. Kumusta yung weight loss natin? So, Joseph, ano to? What's the best practice backup for the best file in the Danger? Ewan ko, hindi ko masasabi. 10 years ago, there was really a debate whether you want to save it as DNG because of its backward compatibility and forward compatibility as well. There was a really big issue whether to save it as DNG 10 years ago. Ha? Pero ngayon kasi, even my oldest CR2 files, now open pa rin ni Adobe. So, I don't know, I cannot answer that whether you should save it as DNG. I think it's safe to save it as DNG because if Photoshop din naman is the leading application software who processes our files. So I think it would be a good idea for DNG to do it. But point is, I really don't know the future. I really don't know kung is that the best, I mean, would that be the best file format to use? I mean, if we would look at it, technically speaking, and logically speaking, it would be logical to use DNG as backup. But, ewan ko, hindi ko talaga alam kasi hanggang ngayon, compatible naman lahat ng mga raw files ko from 10 years ago eh. So, and I'm sure the manufacturer wouldn't just, leave you hanging. It's gonna create something like a converter to convert your old CR2 files to maybe 20 years from now, it will be CR5. Hindi na siya CR2, di ba? So, I really don't know. Hagay na daw sa ni Wadel. Magkakahulihan. Dito sa Manila, hindi na nga makabili ng alak. Bawal na dun sa Makati bumili. So, yeah. So, atin lang. Huwag mag-iinuman. Bawal. So, puntahan kita dyan pagkatapos ng ECQ, Wadel. Ubusin ko yung mga hard drinks mo dyan. So, yeah. So, guys, if you enjoyed this, please follow me in my Instagram, albertpedrosa.ph, and visit my website, albertpedrosa.com. And next topic is going to be more of, naman tayo, hindi tayo technical. Dito naman tayo sa art form, like my process in creating fashion editorials. How do I start and what's my workflow? Paano ko ginagawa? It's gonna be less technical. It's more of the creative and artistic side. So, wag mo naman tayong technical, masyadong too much technical na. Part 1, part 2 na nga eh. So, next week, Wednesday pa rin, Tuesday pala, Tuesday or Wednesday, we're gonna be focusing more on the creative and artistic na part of me as a photographer, as an artist. So I'm gonna be focusing on that. Not so much on the technical anymore. More on the creative and artistic side. Okay, cool. So guys, if you don't, is that CO1, sir? Ano CO1? Alin, yung ginagamit ko na camera? Hindi. I'm using, by the way, my DSLR to do this live. I'm using eCam software to do it. No? Medyo mabagal si eCam. May mabagal na rin talaga kasi yung laptop ko eh. So, yeah. So, I hope to see you guys again next week. And, may gusto kong pindutin dito eh. Sandali ah. May masaya dito eh. And, ito. So, thank you guys for watching. Yeah, and hope to see you guys next week for more creative and artistic na live. Cool. Stay safe and ingat po lagi. Thank you to all.